Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Peace United Church of Christ, where no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Today we continue our worship series about being created in God's image, precious and beloved children of God. Today we are going to hear from somebody that many of us know and love, and some of us don't know, and that's Alex White is going to be speaking to us today, and we're so excited about that. And I even clap, because this is pretty cool. That Alex be willing to do this is pretty amazing. So I'm going to read a little bit of an intro, and then I want to say something of my own personal experience with Alex. And Alex doesn't know any of what I'm going to say. So Alex grew up in this congregation. After his mom, Fran White, met Carolyn and Darcy, their family became involved at Peace through youth group activities, singing in both the children's and youth choirs, and Alex even worked his first job as the Sunday morning host at Peace, which is what I will be addressing in a moment. Alex currently lives in Chicago with his partner Jason. Alex is a graduate of Columbia College Chicago with a degree in documentary video, and if there are people here from the welcoming team or the community team, you probably want to be taking note of that. In documentary video editing and motion graphics, he has been working in healthcare marketing for the past 3 years. Alex is here to speak about what it was like to transition at the age of 9 while being part of a supported faith community. And I think that is something that we really need to hear about today. What I'm going to say about Alex, when I came to Peace, Alex was the morning host, the Sunday morning host. And here's my first impression of Alex was this. Alex is always smiling. He made some really good coffee. And he always had a story to tell. Right? There was always something that Alex had been up to that he was telling us. And I really appreciated that energy, particularly on a Sunday morning. So I'm grateful for you, Alex.
Our first reading this morning is from Psalm 62, verses 5 through 9. In God alone my soul finds rest, for my deliverance comes from God, who alone is my rock, my salvation, my fortress. I will never be shaken. Only in God, my deliverance, my glory, my refuge is God. Trust in God always, my people. Pour out your hearts before God, our refuge. Humankind is but a breath. Mortals are just an illusion. And next, a message for trans kids. Here are many who come before you. We are shining bright, holding you in our warmth. We are working to make the world a place where you can smile, live, and play, and be celebrated. Until then, tend the flame of who you are in your wild, creative hearts. Find us and those who walk beside you. Together we will overcome. The world needs your light. For the wisdom contained in these holy words, we give thanks. Amen.
Hi everyone, I just want to say thank you Darcy and Wendy for inviting me today. I don't often make it out to St. Louis on a Sunday. I usually drive back to Chicago, so I feel very fortunate to spend a little extra time with my mom and spend a little extra time with you all. So I just wanted to share a story of acceptance through adopting a mischievous 6-year-old. Girl, 6 years old, lots of friends, and mischievous. That description alone and a cute photo of myself was enough for a woman to decide she wanted to be a part. She wanted to add in me to her family of 3. The first time I met Carolyn and Darcy, it was in June of 2004. I was 6 years old and I was just adopted from China. The two were watching my sisters. They were babysitting for my mom. And I don't recall my first interactions with them, and I certainly had no idea that meeting them would lead to a lifetime of acceptance, friendship, and guidance. My transition story begins before I could even speak English. From the time I was 6 to the time I was 9, it was clear that to many people, I had no intention of living my life as a girl. I grew up in an orphanage, pushing the gender norm was not their idea. They were not worried about whether you're a boy or whether you're a girl. I think they were just more worried about keeping you alive. And part of that is when you have lack of ownership of anything and everything is shared. You share your toys, your clothes, and everything else. It's hard to feel like you need to be one thing or another. When I came to America, you can imagine how difficult it was to be told how to act, what to think, and what to wear. And in that time, I think during that time, I really didn't have the vocabulary to express how I felt, but I put the clothes I wanted to put on, and my mom, she just went with it. She was cool about it. But my grade school teachers, instead of talking about my educational process, they would spend more time talking about how I was not girl enough. And through it all, my mom saw me for who I was and didn't think I needed fixing. She allowed me to dress how I wanted and ultimately make the decision to support me in my transition. And it was about then that Carolyn and Darcy invited us to be a part of Peace. From grade school and up to the end of high school, my identity as a trans guy at the time, was completely hidden in plain sight. Very early on, I knew if I wanted to be treated like every other boy, that I had to keep it to myself. And for many, for the term stealth typically refers to, in the trans community, someone who actively, presents an agenda they feel, but more importantly, they have the resources and the support to do that. And that's what I had. Although, as I got older, it became difficult mentally. I often battled with thinking that being stealth was the only way that people would accept me. But being at peace was quite literally the only place, aside from home, where I experienced peace with myself. Knowing that those around me knew who I was, I felt comfort. I was fortunate to grow up in a congregation where LGBT identities were present. Seeing same-sex partners have families, see them grow up together, see them form relationships, live together, and just being themselves, shaped the foundation of accepting myself. And it was a place I could talk about being trans with people. And it was also a place where I celebrated so many milestones, from being a boy to becoming a man. And it's also a place I really began to build the confidence to share who I was outside of home and church. It was also a place I felt like people looked out for me. One pretty dramatic and traumatic experience I had was when I was in middle school. This girl that I went to grade school with decided that she told everyone that I used to be a girl. No one believed her, so her and her mom worked together to dig up a photo of me with my dead name on it. And the mother personally came to the school that morning to show up with everybody, because she wanted to be right so bad. I was absolutely humiliated, and I thought my life was absolutely over. And the first person I called was Carolyn. I ugly cried so bad on the phone, even she didn't know what I was saying, but she knew how I felt. She stayed on the phone and listened. My decision to stay self led me to believing I had to handle things on my own, and I had to control. That way I had the control of the matter. When the story made its way up to my sister, and she was left off to fend the rumors, I went through all the emotions of feeling I couldn't show my face anymore. Pretty sure I asked my mom if we could move to a different country. I really thought my life was over. But one place I didn't feel like I needed to hide from was church. And even then, even when my sister was going through all that as well, she had her friends, Anna and Bakule, two other kids that grew up in the church, and they were there to support her. And we weren't even at church, we were at school. If it weren't for this community, I also never would have met Jonah. And for those of you who don't know, he's a part of the Chanel family, and they also grew up in the church. We were inseparable. He was my best friend, and if you're gonna learn how to be a boy from anybody, Jonah is your guy. He taught me the ropes, and our friendship meant everything to me. And he ultimately became a safe place for me to discover what it was like to become a boy. We have experienced all of our first girlfriends, first heartbreaks, middle school, high school, parties, prom, adulthood, first jobs, everything in between and everything after. Being with Jonah made me feel like I was one of the guys. In the good way, not the toxic way. And in that time, I needed a male role model. I got one better, his friendship. I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure this community had a big part in cultivating that friendship and that lifelong friendship. It wasn't just Jonah who experienced my first. It was also here in this community with all of you, with my family, with Carol and Darcy, and with everyone else I was fortunate to learn from. I certainly cannot tell my story without the mention of being immersed in an LGBT-friendly community that stripped away the shame that many people feel all too well. It ultimately led me to meeting my now partner, Jason. We've been together for 5 years now, and when I first met him, I was very, very new at the gay thing. And for many gay couples, one sure way to connect with each other, one anticipated question is, what is your coming out story? He told me his, and with the things that I learned from here, I felt like I was able to be compassionate, and I was able to learn from him. But when he asked me what my coming out story was, I kind of just said, I don't know, I didn't really come out. I kind of just told my mom. It wasn't until then, seeing his reaction, that I realized that I grew up in a way where I didn't feel like I had to come out. Telling my mom that I wanted to be with a guy was the same as telling her I wanted extra cream cheese on my bagel. I didn't have to ask for permission, and I didn't need to feel sharing this kind of information would change how she feels about me. And for many people in the gay community, or even the trans community, or everything in between, that is not the case. It was just another day and another conversation. If it weren't for this community and being able to grow up in a place that reminded me each week when I showed up through those doors that I was welcomed and celebrated, and seeing others live authentically, then I certainly cannot be where I am today. I have not forgotten the power of community I have not forgotten what the power of this community has done for me. And I hope this congregation continues to give the next generation a place where acceptance becomes ingrained within them and the tools to live authentically. And for the lucky few, will meet a Jonah just as I have.